we've been so close so many times, and it's like when they say time freezes and you see your life flash before your eyes, it's kind of the same feeling. You know, you think about to all the upsets and all the misfortunes and all the things that have happened before. It all replays through your head, at least it did for me. And so you just are prepared for the worst to happen again. You know, you try so hard, and it's to stay positive and to think the best, but when you've been let down so many times before, it's hard to not expect the same.
I rewatched the race from 2022 and felt like we were in the position we needed to be in. And so I told my guys, I said, if we get back in that same position, you know, I would take it in a heartbeat. And, you know, I felt like if we had that opportunity again, that we can make the most of it.
Being superstitious, last year when we led all the way to the end and got crashed, I had moved my position. So literally, when the yellow came out, I wasn't sure until I heard it on the radio whether we were headed the scoring loop. And there were people jumping on me. I was doing my best not to move my position. I didn't want to jinx it. So I was cautiously optimistic, but sure elation when we heard it over the radio.
Daytona is a weird place. Daytona is a place you love to hate, because everybody that gets off the airplane, we take the same road every time, go to the same place every time. And it's the beginning of the season, and everyone has that feeling that you have a chance. You know, it started out just like any other race weekend, going to Daytona, first race of the season. Everybody's excited, you know, we're ready to get going. And it was pretty much business as usual. You know, you show up, you unload, everybody's got their nice polished toolboxes and cars, and the decals are brand new, and everything's fresh like the first day of school. So it's a unique feeling anyway, but we definitely didn't know what we had in store for us.
If you asked me what was it like heading down there, it was just being ready to go, get the week rolling. Daytona is different than anywhere else we go, and every year over the past 5, it's changed. The amount of track time is getting less and less. So you got to be on your game when you get there.
Exciting day just because it's the first race of the year. We've been off for a few months, so it's just a lot of focus on, all right, let's make sure we go and have a good day today. That's pretty much what's on my mind every single Sunday morning. Like, whatever you need to do mentally to make sure you have a good day, let's go have a good day.
Just like it's been every year going to Daytona, especially with Ricky. You feel like you got a shot at winning, but you also know you have a probably 75% chance that you're going to get caught up in a big one, because that's everybody does, right? I'm not saying just Ricky. The chances are you're going to crash. The chances are better that you're going to crash than you're not, especially what we've seen lately. But I feel if Ricky doesn't end up in an accident, he's going to be there racing for the win, and he knows how to get to the front of those races, and I feel like our chances are as good as anybody's.
After coming so close last year, I was like, man, I got a weird feeling about today, but I think today's going to be a good day. If we are alive at the end, we're going to have a chance.
This season with Mike Kelly coming in as crew chief, his style is, every crew chief has their difference of how they go it. Mike is very good at managing people. He's very good at pushing people, learning everybody's abilities, and getting the most out of individuals. So working with him, he definitely pushed everybody to go to the next level. So that's why I think he's really good with Ricky. He's very good at pushing Ricky, like motivating him, like behind the wheel, like it pumps you up. And when somebody is good at doing that, everybody across the board can achieve more.
JR was a racer, and you know he meant a lot to this race team. You know, the truck drivers are a very important piece, and JR was one of the best. And so, man, obviously everything happened with him very fast last year, and it hit this team really hard.
And it just seems so unfair. Then in June he finds out he has cancer, and September 11th he passed. So it was awful. He was definitely family, full team guy, all in, and just sad.
Obviously, JR, he's a very close friend of mine. He and I actually started at JTG at the same time, so we had a very long history going back, here. We ended up losing him, and it was very important that he got to celebrate with us, because everything up to this point has been a building block, and he was a vital part of that whole thing. So to be able to have him on the car with us, everybody on the team, the road crew, the pit crew, we all signed the car, and just to have him there with us, there's a few of us that have a feeling that he helped us out with that caution, because everything lined up at the right time. So I feel like JR was there with us that night, and he was in victory lane with us, and now he's sitting down in Daytona, USA for everybody to see for a whole year. So that's really great that his family is able to experience that, and I know JR was with us.
He was like dad. Like he was the heartbeat of here. That's another thing we think about is when we go out there, let's go make JR proud.
So JR meant a lot to a lot of people, and besides just driving the truck, he was a friend, and he meant a ton. The more that he ever knew, and more than we ever realized. And when I tell you, he was looking over us Sunday, he was, right? So the first thing I thought of when that caution came out was, thanks, JR. We needed that.
We felt like we missed, there was crashes happening right in front of us. We missed them all, and we kind of said that when we got done, we're tearing down. They said JR was looking over us, and I believe that.
Yeah, I think JR was, we've come so close so many times. I think JR was in there helping us across the start-finish line. One of my very close friends had passed away the week before suddenly, and Wolfie, I think, was all part of it. I think they're up there standing next to the Lord saying this is their time, and couldn't have come at a better time.
Oh, he was watching. He was the reason for that last caution. I think he was the one that got us that caution and got us out front. So we were saying our thank you to him for helping us out a little bit there. And we know he's up in heaven bragging to all of his buddies, like, that's my team right there. So
time passes on, but JR is not too far off our minds. He's always here with us. So it's important that in our achievements and our failures, we think about him too, because he's there with us.
He would have thought of it, like he would have been ecstatic, and I'm sure he was smiling and cheering us on, maybe even helping us somehow. Like, it is incredibly difficult to see the struggles he went through and what the team went through and what we had to do to help each other out. Because, he left a hole, and we had to fill that hole. And it's a hole that's not easily filled, And to get that win and start off this year the way we did is a fairy tale.
We took a picture from victory lane, all looking up, and that was for JR. Daytona is a roller coaster. It starts from the drop of the green flag. You're constantly wondering when's it going to happen to us. Just the year before, Ricky was leading, I think with like 5 laps to go then too, right? So they'd put themselves in a really good position. And I remember my wife, I think, texted me that night and saying, man, it looks like you guys got a shot at it. And I just put my head down knowing that we would probably get wrecked.
You can't really get excited until the end, right? You try not to get too excited because, to win these things, it all has to play out, right? Everything's got to work right. Everything's got to happen right.
We have looked at statistics and said that Ricky has been taken out of the 500 by mistakes of others in the first stage. So we just rode the first stage. Second stage, we wanted to see where we stood, tried to push our way to the front, and then we got a speeding on pit road penalty under the last stage, under the last what would have been the last round of pit stops, and it kind of deflated all our sails. But just as we left pit road under the penalty, the caution came out, which kind of saved us, right? Because that's about where we were running, where the wreck happened. So it gave us another opportunity to regroup, and Ricky's, we've talked about it since. He said he wasn't going to let us down. He knew he needed to get that car back to the front. But I also know, like, when that green-white checkered came out, I looked down, I turned all my radios off, and I just wanted to hear what NASCAR had to say at the end of the race. I didn't need to hear my spotter. I could hear some of that, but I expected that we would get wrecked. Being on the front row, you're basically a sitting duck.
Like whenever we get our shot, something always seems to happen. He was so close last year and basically got ran over at the end of the race, you know, with a chance. He's led the last 18, 20 laps of the race and just got flat out taken out with a chance to win. And you're just waiting for something like that to happen. And for just to work out and let him just do his thing without no interference, and it worked out.
In my head, I'm like trying to be optimistic. Like, we might have just won this. We might have just won this thing. But I'm like, do not celebrate until you hear it that you just won the 500. And as soon as I heard that, from that happening to running out to the car to getting to victory lane, it was a blur. I mean, it felt like a dream.
They announced it on the radio, 47-22, and it's still that feeling is still unbelievable. So when they start wrecking, I'm looking at SMT, and I see that we're ahead of Joey Logano when they start crashing. And I looked over at Gordon, and I said, we just won the Daytona 500.
Man, I thought I was going to vomit. Like, my wife is used to work in racing, so she kind of knows the stress of it. And I'm just standing in my living room, stressing out like the last restart, and knowing we're in a good position. And I was like, we have good pushers behind us. So I knew the possibility of us to win. Like we were in a great position when the green white checkered was. So my 5-year-old son was sitting in a chair, like he was getting excited because he doesn't really know the sport yet, but he's like, he knew I was getting excited and nervous, and just pacing around my living room trying to control my anxiety, because at home you have nothing to distract you. You literally just watch and you get nervous. At least at the racetrack can stay occupied a little bit. So it was definitely different, but it was pretty awesome. To me, it seemed like minutes. But I was like, show who's leading, show who's leading. I was saying, like yelling at the TV, show who is leading. Like it might have been 5 seconds, I don't know. But I was like, who is leading? And then my wife and my son was like, did you win? Did you win? I was like, I don't know.
I have about 5 radios in my head at one time. So whenever the caution came out, I immediately turned off all my radios except for the one that I use to monitor NASCAR. And it felt like an eternity because obviously, you know, they're sending safety trucks to make sure everybody's okay and stuff like that. And then we finally get to the point where they give the rundown. And it was like time stood still. We're all on the wall and we're just waiting. And the air sucked out of the room almost, you know, like every cliche feeling or emotion that anyone has ever said before me and you are sitting here happened. And to finally hear NASCAR come across the radio and say 47 car to victory lane, that instant, I actually was the first one to jump off the wall. And everybody else was still I turned around and here I was on pit road by myself. And then a second later, everybody else jumped off too. So it was like, kind of like you say, a pinch me moment of, oh, here I am by myself. Is this real? And yeah, obviously it turned out to be real, and it was definitely a highlight of my career.
When it came across the TV that we were the winner, jumping around, like my wife understood, and actually I picked my son up, and I'm like, he was cheering too, and I called him up. I was like, we won the 500! And I saw a moment in his eyes where he went from excited to scared, because I realized I was shaking him so bad, and I was screaming at him like, we just won! Like, just to, I love being at the track and winning the race, but being at home and like with my son and my wife, and they know how much work we put into, meant just as much as being there with the team guys.
You know, one of my really good friends who helped me put the Kroger deal together when it first came together, he's retired now, but he was standing right next to me. I looked over and he was crying. He was so excited, so emotional. So I can't remember what I thought. I was just taking in all the emotions around me and all the elation around me. It's just special.
I had ran the wrong way on pit road trying to get to the entrance. I thought the main entrance was like blocked off because there's a ton of people flooding there. So I thought there was a gap in the gate up ahead. Ran probably a quarter mile in the wrong direction, but on my way running, all my buddies were jumping off the pit box, coming up and hugging me, like high-fiving me, like congratulations, man. So that running the wrong direction was probably one of the most memorable things of the 500 for me. Was just everybody just so happy for us and just for this team too. I got a lot of messages saying, couldn't have happened to better people. Like, not a better person, couldn't have happened to a better person, couldn't have happened to better people. And it says a lot about what your reputation is up and down pit road as an organization. Everybody is just super happy for them and everybody involved. So that's, again, just so cool.
We did it. You know, still a lot today. It just couldn't probably mean more to two people who have been through a lot together than that. You
know, for me, we knew we were going to win with Ricky Stenhouse. It was a foregone conclusion. It was a matter of time. Really special. We had 125 sponsor guests there. People have been with us through thick and thin, good times and bad. They're part of our family. I mean, they're our lifeblood. So friends and family who are sponsor partners. So I was spending all my time with security at Victory Lane, making sure they all got into Victory Lane. Finally, NASCAR came over and said, how many people are you bringing in here? I said, well, we have 125 sponsor guests here. They said, we don't do it this way. I said, we're doing it this way tonight. They said, well, how do we argue with that? Okay.
We went to the airport. When the plane landed, we were there. We had champagne and we celebrated together. Like, being a small team, you know, like the road guys probably had a few hours of sleep. Most of them probably slept on the plane. And when they parked, we had police officers there with the lights on and sirens, and then we popped champagne and had our own victory celebration.
You know, the Harrisburg police were a little town here. They came with a police escort, took everyone that worked in the shop who didn't get to experience it with us, and took them out to the airport and put them on the tarmac. So when we landed, all you see is blue lights and a bunch of commotion. We're like, man, there must be something going on at the airport. And sure enough, it was everybody with their streamers and noisemakers. And, you know, my college roommate was here helping with my dad, who's, you know, he's 91 now, and we were gone for several days, and he even surprised me and went and got Dad out on the tarmac. You know, he's always been my biggest cheerleader, so it was a great celebration pulling that trophy off the plane and let everyone take pictures with it right away.
It's always special to come back, and it didn't look like this when we first started coming here. They've gone through some revamps over time, but it looks like they got the store in great condition, and a lot of the same people still working here, which is really cool. Thank you. I appreciate y'all rolling out the red carpet, going all out. That was really neat, and wasn't ready for that. So it was really cool. And walking through the store, y'all continue to keep that up and do a great job. And yeah, my mom's been shopping here for 31 years, and so I spent a lot of time in here. Normally on Mondays or Tuesday nights we would come a little bit later in the night, so crowd was less. But really cool. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for going all out for me and supporting our whole race team at JTG Daugherty Racing. The Kroger, it's one big family, and I go to Cincinnati often to Kroger headquarters, but it's cool to come here to home.
Absolutely. Well, glad to have you. Thank you very much.
Sometimes good stories do come true, right? And believing in your people is sometimes more important than just having people, right? We race against 400 and 500 member teams every weekend. And I've always told them, if I have 40 guns aiming in the same direction, that'll be better than 400 guns just aiming.
It meant everything. I mean, the things you remember are the people who are around you when something special happens, and that experience together. And, you know, I'm just glad everyone was there to experience it with us and get the pictures and feel the elation. I mean, everyone put so much of their heart and soul into it, from the Kroger people who do it as an extra job to execute the program, to the manufacturer partners who are part of the program who continue to sell it into headquarters every year. It's just, it's a team effort, and it's great to celebrate as a team.
I don't think until you experience it, you know how big of an impact it is on your career, your race team, all your sponsors, all the crew guys are, you know, it was cool to come back into the shop finally on that Wednesday and see how pumped up the guys were. And, you know, for me, that goes probably the longest, you know, ways for me with the team guys being pumped up and, you know, ready to hit the ground running, especially this early in the season, you know, which makes me appreciate it even more. Like I said, it was way bigger than I thought it was going to be.